How are we all today? I thought I would jump on and talk to you about the thing that I think I get asked most often, especially so what often happens is that parents begin to have an awareness. Either they see one of my Facebook lives, or they read a book, or they see a YouTube video, or maybe they go on a parenting course and they begin to realize, oh, okay, some of the traditional approaches to parenting, so, telling children off, taking things away from them, rewarding them, bribing them, praising them. Oh, okay, so according to whatever it is they've looked at or read, maybe Dan Siegel and Tanya Payne Bryson's books, or maybe they've seen a Dr. Shivali video, or who knows. And so there's this awareness, and with awareness often what I find is that people then get in quite a bad state actually. And I get many messages on Facebook, on Twitter, from parents saying, well, I've done this, or my child has experienced that, so have I ruined them? Is it too late? What's going to happen? Understandably in a state of panic. And I certainly, on my parenting journey, especially given a lot of the books that I read about childhood trauma and the impact, what causes childhood trauma, which is actually a lot of the low level stuff that we have been convinced is just parenting, and the lasting impacts. So when you look at the science behind what this does, it's caused me to fall in a heap several times and be desperately sad, and I don't know if I've been ashamed. Well, I have been ashamed. I think we've all been ashamed as parents at times. But yeah, when you've read as much solid science as I have, it can take you to some very sad places. But the good news is that it is never, ever, ever too late. So to answer the question, have you ruined your child if you have regularly been putting them on a timeout step or space, regularly lecturing them, telling them off, shaming them, maybe calling them unkind names, criticizing them all the time, tutting at them, rolling your eyes at them, shouting at them, hitting them, sending them away from you? Well, you haven't ruined them, of course not, but anything that we experience, especially in the early years of our life, but not just then, but very, very deeply then, what it does is it wires our brain in a certain way. And the things that we experience the most often create the strongest, fastest, if you think of them like highways in a child's brain, because repetition makes the connections between the brain cells really strong. So it doesn't take a lot in a child's rapidly developing brain to prioritize one neural pathway over another. So, an example I will often use when I'm training professionals is I'll have them all stand up in a line if they want to, and I have pieces of wool, and then I ask them to stand one behind the other. So that's a row of brain cells all in one line. Next line's another row of brain cells, and then I give various scenarios, and I'll say, right, you're the hopeless, helpless line, you're the overwhelmed and irritated line, I can't remember off the top of my head, you're the happy, contented line, and you're the scared, terrified line. And then I give various scenarios, where a child is maybe left a lot to cry on its own. Or where a child is regularly told off for something and shamed. And then, some scenarios where the child, not perfectly, but most of the time the parent goes and they're kind and they hold a calm, kind, safe space for the child for whatever's going on for them. And obviously I purposely give scenarios that's going to wire in the unhealthy parts of the brain, and I give very few for the what we all aspire to and want. And then, at the end, I make the point that because they've all been past the wall all the way down the neurons at that point. So if they think, yes, actually that would make a child, to be told off for constantly dropping things on the floor when they're eating, to be repeatedly told off and criticised for that. Oh, for goodness sake, you're always dropping things. Concentrate on what you're doing. Over and over again, that child will perceive that as, oh, I'm really annoying, I really upset people, and I can't do this. And that will form a strong pathway in their brain. So at that point, we would pass a piece of wall back along so they can visually see, oh, the more this pathway is used, the hopeless pathway, because that's the state a child is left in, the stronger the connections will be. And of course, that's not at all what any of us want for the negative things, for children being wired in to perceive themselves as annoying, as unacceptable unless they're really good and really please everybody and get everything right and get high scores at school and, never upset anyone, however the hell you do that. I can't never upset anyone now and I'm a grown up, although I do try. So whatever they repeatedly are experiencing is going to wire their brains to be much more focused and aware of that. And that then becomes their inner core belief system about themselves. Well, I'm stupid and I can't do this. I'm really annoying and I always upset people. Well, I'm a really angry child. That's why I do this. I don't deserve to have people be kind to me because I'm such a failure. I just fail at everything. Any of those things will become deeply wired into their brains. Thank goodness when I then came across this bit in my studies, which is called neuroplasticity, and there's also neurogenesis. So what these are is hope. So the brain is incredible. The body systems are also incredible, and the brain and the body can learn over time new ways to behave and new ways to react and respond. And if they are exposed to them often enough, then that will become the new norm. But as many of us will have experienced as adults, it's flipping hard. I see all these things where, people talk about self-esteem and, children need to, there's all these books on self-esteem and self-worth and self-confidence and all the rest of it. And they're tools, they can be great tools for discussion. I agree completely. But, and that will help, but it's really important that we, the adults, upgrade the beliefs we hold about our worth and our confidence, because our children are so wired into us that if we don't really like ourselves very much and we hold deep down beliefs of not being good enough, not being acceptable enough, not being, people not liking us, then the children will pick up on that. And also they'll hear us say things like, oh, I bet I've upset so-and-so now, or I don't think they're going to be very happy with me because I did, blah, blah, blah. So the most important upgrade is always to ourselves. And that is harder. So anyone who's ever tried to repeat affirmations for 30-something days in a row, or meditate for, I don't know if it's 30 days or more to change themselves in one way, will know it's a bit of a tall order. The technique that I use in my coaching is the fast track upgrade, because we go straight into your mind that is below consciousness, and we find what are the repetitive things that you keep saying that got wired into you very early on, and then we uninstall those and we install an upgrade that means that you just peacefully hold very, very different beliefs about yourself, but also about your child. The other thing that I do is, with the course that I'm offering, is I offer you real insight, strategies, tools that you can use to begin to really catch yourself in the moment, or even before the moment would be better, so that it's much harder then to kind of unleash these things on the children, the unhelpful, unkind phrases, the eye rolls, the look, or whatever it is. It becomes harder to do, because when we can catch ourselves, then we will be much less likely to consistently visit this stuff on our children, because that's the very last thing we want to do. And again, I get so many parents, and it's really, really sad, messaging me saying, "Oh, I feel terrible because I forgot to do my my grounding rituals. I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that, because we're all only human, and I've just lost it again with them, and now I feel terrible." And again, that's understandable, but without a solid roadmap for this, and things that we really understand, okay, this is what's going on inside of me. So when this is going on inside of me, I need to check myself, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is why I'm going to do it. Then it becomes something that it's a bit of it's a nice option, or it's an add-on, but look how hard life is for me now. I can't possibly do that now. Well, now is exactly the time when you do need to be doing this stuff, because you really, really are in a very different time, different situation than probably at any other time any of us have ever experienced. So this is the time to either jump on my course or seriously think about upgrading what's been wired into you, because otherwise you can be sure and certain that you accidentally will wire something very similar in, joining up your child's brain cells very rapidly right now. So I hope that's helpful. Whatever we have done to our children in the past, it's never too late to say now, okay, this stops now. If you've been smacking your children, you can decide today that that's never an option, ever, ever, ever again. You don't smack other people. You don't smack someone who annoys you in the street. So it's in you. It's totally in you. In the same way that you don't yell at somebody at work if they do something that not well, that you haven't asked them to. It's just much harder when we're parenting, because obviously we have this massive emotional connection with our children. So it is harder, but it's possible. It's really, really possible. So I hope that that's helpful to you, to have this understanding that we do wire our children in a certain way, and we do put core beliefs in them, and they can be really unhelpful, unhealthy, negative ones, but we can always turn this around for them and for ourselves, and quite honestly, we must.